Hey everyone, welcome back to Death Wears Bunny Slippers. Thanks for checking us out here. So where we're at is level 1. So this is the topmost level in the Launch Control Center. This was originally the bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen when it was an operational site. Since then we've taken all the walls down. If you haven't seen that, you can check out the scrapping videos to see that. But what this is going to be is master bed and bath, and we're going to make this really nice. We want to be able to stay here, maybe other people to stay here, and we want it to look good and not so missile silo-ish. So you can see the blue tape on the floor. That's kind of what we're looking at for the sizing for this little commode room. But like anything, we're going to do a little improv on here. Just make sure everything's centered in the room, and it's centered directly across from the spiral staircase. There are a few other projects we're going to be working on during this video, one of which is we want to make the outside a lot nicer, because right now on level 1 you can see underneath between the floor and the concrete, and there's some shock absorber systems there, etc. But what we're doing here is we're making some covers for that. So these are 4 foot by 4 foot curved panels. Now keep in mind that these floors can move independently of the walls. So remember, see those springs in the background? This whole system can float. So these panels that we're making have to be able to float with it, so they can't actually install, or I should say, can't actually connect to the floor and the wall at the same time. The other project we have going on here right now, Kelly's doing some welding, and what we're doing is he's seaming up all the welds that we had, the panels we had put in. We changed this to from a traditional staircase to a spiral. We did that because it makes a lot more room on all 3 levels. There will be railing going in. That will be a future video. So I know a lot of you are concerned with that, and rightfully so. So you can look forward to that as well. But that's what Kelly's doing here on level 1, is just tidying up some of that welding for us, make it look a lot nicer. Right now what I'm working on is this back wall. So this is just going to be a stand-up pony wall. It's going to be connected directly to the floor, as I had already mentioned. The way we're connecting it to the floor is we're going to weld bolts to the floor, head down, and then we'll be able to use nuts on top of those. And obviously these first few walls are going to be very not structurally very sound. They're going to move around quite a bit until you get the sidewalls on. One of the things I'm working around right here in this shot that you can't see is I'm working around one of the shock absorbers. There's 4 shock absorbers on this level, and they're just like they work on a car. Your car has springs just like the Launch Control Center, but what we're doing is we're making this move a little bit here. So you can, we're building around this shock absorber because it's kind of in the way, but it does add some structural stability. So those are the 3 projects we're working on: the bathroom walls, the panels that are going around the outside that cover up this gap that you're looking at right here, and then the 4th one is the third project is the welding of that floor that you saw earlier. Now we're making the tall walls. This is 7 feet wide, which is 2 feet wider than the width of the commode room. So 7 feet wide by 8 feet tall, so standard wall height or ceiling height. And this is going to be, there's going to be 2 of these walls. One of them will be for the bathroom, and the other is going to be for some cabinets, and will also be the vanity wall. So you can see Gary and Kelly putting together one of the early of these panels. Now you can see a kind of a fast-forwarded view. A lot more of these panels are up and running and starting to come together, and I think you can kind of see the look. Imagine, uplighting coming out of them, then painted nicely, and some good seams put on them as well. Some nice things to put them to kind of keep them assembled, but also let them float.
Okay, so I figure it's time for a little bit of a tour here. You've seen some of what's happened, but just kind of catch everybody up. So these panels are eventually going to be covered in probably some kind of an acoustic material. The shelves will be nice. You notice how these don't actually connect right here at the top. We'll get all that taken care of. And then we have a water heater. So since I have the guys out helping, we brought a water heater up. This is Wi-Fi enabled, which is super awesome. Upside of that, you may be asking why I have a Wi-Fi water heater. Well, if I leave or on vacation or if I'm not here, you can shut it down. If more people show up and you need more water, you can raise the temperature so there's more hot water to use. So anyway, so that's going to be super awesome. I also just wanted all the guys are here to help me lift it up. Let's see here, bathroom door. So we're going to get going on that. This is, again, we're going to build this commode room. One of the things we have to do coming up is build this curve. So there's going to be a curved wall that connects here. Door is going to go right there. There'll be some pull-out shelving that comes out from here, and then this will be the vanity wall. These, of course, are just they're still floppy and not doing any, not properly set up yet. Yeah, so that's kind of the status of where we're at. And so the goal now is going to be doing a lot of work in here. The electrical and plumbing connections will be in this wall over here. It's kind of tucked away. So let's making some progress.
Now it's time to build this curved portion. Remember, this cannot attach to the wall. So I'm going to build this curved portion that connects the back wall, that shorter wall, to the taller one you saw us building on the floor. So after building that template, you can see I have this, I'm kind of starting to cut these out. Now these, you just build a bunch of these out of plywood. You just cut a whole bunch of them until you're as thick as a 2x4, which is 3.5 inches. So it's quite a bit of cutting, and it's a little bit of money in plywood because plywood for sure isn't cheap. But it makes for a very strong wall. So you can see kind of there's the first one I cut, and you can kind of see what that's going to look like floating there. I'm just checking to make sure it's going to look okay and everything matches and lines up. Now let's go ahead and head down, and we got a bunch of these cut. Now we're just going to screw all of these together. So we're going to screw and glue 2 of these, one for each side, and should make for a pretty nice curved wall in order to get that curve and mimic that we want. Here's Kelly sanding on it. Again, just make it a little bit nicer and give us something really nice to attach to. Keep in mind these are not structural. All they're doing is really holding up sheetrock. The facility itself is fairly strong. Now what we're doing is we're cutting some notches out of the floor. So we're on level 2 now, looking up to level 1. And what we're doing here is cutting out some notches for utilities and any future improvements we want, because it'll definitely make life a little bit harder if we don't do this now.
Okay, so what we've just done, you saw a bunch of cutting. What that was is right underneath it here. So this is where the plumbing manifold is going to be. Plumbing manifold sits here, hoses go down, so the intake goes down, and then it's going to come up from here to the water heater. So in cold, out hot, into the manifold. Let me just go ahead and grab it. So manifold kind of sits like this.
All right, let's take a minute to talk about this manifold. A manifold is where you have, basically think of it like a circuit breaker system, except for water. So each of these are individual valves. Cold water comes in from your source outside. Another cold water goes into your water heater, and then the water heater comes out to source these lines. Here's one I found that's installed. This is not what ours looks like, but this is it's a pretty interesting system. You can shut anything down against a circuit breaker, so if you don't want to do any maintenance, or you can actually have future build outs right from here, where you can just turn these individually on and off. And these have been well proven, along with PEX, for use in multiple types of facilities. So I think it's pretty awesome. Here we are putting that sidewall on. So this is the wall that does not contain the door. The door is on the other side. The reason for that is I picked it on the other side because it's closest to where the bed is going to be. So I figure if you have to use the restroom at night, then it's a little bit more convenient. to be able to do that. Now this little structure here, this little commode room is kind of coming together and is quite a bit stronger now that we're getting this sidewall put in. Here's an interesting part of the project. One of the things that I'm doing that's definitely very unusual is how we're going to do the countertop. So this is going to have a dual vanity, concrete countertop. But one of the unique things that I've only seen done a few times is there will be no plumbing showing underneath the sinks. So the sinks are going to be vessels sitting on top, but underneath there won't be any plumbing. So how do you do it? So the plumbing is actually going to run through that horizontal, now it's not horizontal yet in the shot, but as I flip it over it will be. So this horizontal pipe here, the drain lines will run through there. So when it drains out, and then it comes out the back of that horizontal into the P-trap. So the P-traps will actually be in a separate little cubby that is between two walls. So if it turns out like I think it will, should be pretty cool. These are very, very strong because they're going to be holding up the entire weight of the countertop. And then we're going to be welding here in just a few moments. We're going to weld these down to the floor. All right, so I had these powder coated. So here I am, I'm welding these to the floor. The floor got dented actually during scrapping, so I had to put that bar underneath that you see there. That's kind of holding those, getting those level. Now, keep in mind, we can't make normal level on this. And the reason we can't do that is because this floor can move. So remember, we're on springs here. So we don't get the luxury of always being level like other things. So now we're going to put some paneling on. This is going to have a water wall on the front of it, which should look pretty cool. So it'll actually be water draining down it. So I'm going to be using some Schluter system to go on top of this concrete board, which if you haven't ever heard of the Schluter system, it's a German system. It's a little bit expensive, but basically the best in the industry for doing anything if you're trying to waterproof walls, showers, etc. That's it. Thank you for taking your time on this video. As always, thanks again, and we'll see you in a future video.